Yes, he did. Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for this edition of Donnybrook. Great to have you aboard. Let's meet the panelists before we discuss the hot topics of the week, starting with Sarah Fenske from St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio, sitting in for Wendy Weiss, who's taking a spring break. So is Bill McClellan. He's out, so Page 2 columnist for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Mr. Joe Holleman, has joined us. Thank you, Joe. On to Ray Hartmann, one of our founders. You see his columns in rawstory.com, the Riverfront Times, and he hosts St. Louis in the Know weeknights on the Big 550 KTRS. Alvin Reid edits the news for the St. Louis American, where he also writes a great sports column. And lots to talk about this week. But before we begin the discussion, little programming note at 1/2 Greg Myrie, the national security correspondent for National Public Radio, and a Parkway Central grad, will be with us to discuss Ukraine and other matters. Ray and I will throw questions his way. Looking forward to that. Hope you join us. Hey, Sarah, I want to ask you, by the way, welcome back.
Thank you.
Big story, I think, this week, where William Tisby, who was the private investigator, former FBI agent hired by the circuit attorney, Ms. Gardner, to investigate Eric Greitens in a criminal case. This is going back 3-4 years right now. Turns out he had been, according to a grand jury, indicted for 7 different counts, including 6 of perjury, because it was shown that he had been asked for materials, and he said, there were no materials, I didn't take notes, there is no videotape, nothing's working, and then he was proved wrong on each of those. And yet, you know, according to the way our system works, the accused is entitled to these matters. So he lied under oath in a deposition, but this week he copped a plea deal, and he got a misdemeanor for tampering with evidence. And as a result, he'll be on probation for 1 year, but if he has good behavior, the whole case is cleared in 3 months. Was this sentence too light?
Too light? I don't know. To me, this feels just about right. The very fact that this ended up being something where you're bringing multiple felony counts, this is almost unheard of from the lawyers that I talk to. People are making perjurous statements a lot in depositions. It shouldn't happen. What Tisby did was not right, but it frequently happens, and you only end up getting a special prosecutor involved on a case like this that's politically charged. Eric Greitens had politically connected attorneys. They managed to get a special prosecutor on this, and they took this to the hilt in a way that I've never seen in a case like this. That there would be a prosecutor willing to bring this many charges just over a deposition.
No one's ever seen it because it was all about Eric Greitens. And you know, look today, if 1/10 of what Sheena Greitens is accusing Eric Greitens of doing now, his crimes are so much more significant than this. You got to remember the detail. Eric Greitens did not resign from the governorship because of this bungled prosecution. He resigned because the Republican Party wanted him out and took him out. Okay, so this was really, I mean, whatever one thinks about Kim Gardner, this was such inconsequential.
I was going to say, like, I don't think this, right now, from where we've come to where this all started to where we are now, I don't think this has anything to do with Eric Greitens. I think this does have to do with Kim Gardner.
Well, yeah.
Now, I think they set William Tisby down and told him, so like, dude, you're getting leaned on, man, and you're going to do some time unless you help us. So it's like in 3 months, he'll have no record. In 3 months, Kim Gardner might not have a law license. And I think the two are kind of playing together.
That's interesting.
I don't think that's the case.
I think it was very serious charges. According to the suppressed indictment, at one point, the former circuit judge, Robert Durker, wanted to take all of these lies to the police, but Kim Gardner, according to Durker, said, no, we're not going to do that. You know, regardless of what you think of Eric Greitens, I know you don't hold him in high standing in your opinion. Ray, but he is entitled to a squeaky clean prosecution. And in this particular case, they have an investigator who, under oath, former FBI agent, was lying repeatedly. Well, that just can't happen.
And I think that's the part that gets lost in this. One, prosecutors hate perjury cases like they hate conspiracy cases, because you put that in front of a jury, you got to explain, well, was it a lie or did I misremember? Those are bad cases for prosecutors, tough cases. You know, but the idea was that the prosecution, or Tisby's actions, were not following the rule of law. And I think a lot of what happens is that you're okay with what Tisby did only if you're okay with the outcome, i.e. Greitens got removed. Greitens is gone. Then it's, well, let's forgive that. Let's put the shoe on the other foot, and Tisby is prosecuting some Democratic candidate. Then you have the whole other side that's complaining about it. The bottom line is there was a bunch of cases of him possibly acting inappropriately, illegally, and they cut a deal with him. I'm more with Alvin. I want to see where the other shoe drops on this, as to go to one misdemeanor from 7 felonies to 1 misdemeanor. That's a pretty good deal.
But I think what happened is this was a dog of a case. You had a special prosecutor who had a vested interest in trying to go after Kim Gardner and her people. The minute that you had a prosecutor from outside St. Louis on this case, the guy said, you know what, we cannot take this to trial because we can't win.
How did Jerry Carmody have a vested interest in going after Kim Gardner?
Because he's in with that whole group.
Excuse me, first of all, he
was in with what group?
He made the lawyers for Eric Greitens.
He was Dowd's best friend and former partner. They were all part of the same team. And Jerry Carmody, by the way.
Jerry Carmody was not part of the team. He's not part of Dowd Bennett.
He's
Carmody McDonald.
A childhood friend of Ed Dowd.
Oh, so if you're a childhood friend, you're all of a sudden suspect.
They were all connected. There was this whole connection with Chaminade. Everybody that was the judge.
It's the Chaminade.
It really was. And by the way, Jerry Carmody, who's a fine guy, used to advertise with the magazine. Let me tell you something. He was the guy who quietly represented the NFL in the suit with the Rams. And
he represented the NFL.
Right.
Oh, well, that's a
nobody
sin.
Talks about. But back to this.
Where did you want the prosecutor to come from? Kim Gardner's office?
No, I think you know what?
They
could have gotten somebody from any other county and not wasted $600,000-$700,000 of taxpayers' money. But back to what your point, I don't think that whatever the case they have against Kim Gardner, which I think is going in April, to the Supreme Court. I don't think they need anything from Tisby. In other words, I think whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Well, okay, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I understand Joe's point about the partisanship, but in this case, my argument isn't about partisanship. It's about the fact that nothing happened to Eric Greitens. So, in other words, if he had been convicted of something, if there had been an adverse outcome to him, I can understand that. But there wasn't.
I disagree. Because I can't. Look, it's impossible to do, because it is not true. Right. But if I was, I mean, if you are a defendant in a case and something like this went down, and the fact that I got off, I'd be even more livid. Yeah. I mean, you know,
it just wasn't right. They asked Tisby, did you take notes in your deposition of KS, the hairstylist? He goes, no, I don't take notes. I don't take notes. Then they find out that he takes notes. And you see, Greitens had a right. He was entitled to get those notes. So he's lying his tail off. That's wrong.
And it's like such a big deal.
Well, let's see if you think it's a big deal about the population for the city going down 10,000. Actually, 8,200 fewer people, according to the census. Figures released yesterday. As it turns out, the city's now below 300,000. The county's population went down. Every county on the east side of the river went down. St. Charles went up. Jefferson County went up. But the metropolitan area, Ray, is dead as a doornail. It's down in population. Meanwhile, Kansas City, up. Cincinnati, up. Minneapolis, up. Chicago, down. What do you make of this?
Oh, that's breaking news. To me, first of all, it's in a metropolitan area of 2.8 million people, 8,000 up or down is a rounding error. Now, if it had gone up 8,000 and some civic yahoos had put out a press release going, hey, we're back, it's up 8,000, we'd have all made fun of them. It's not a significant number. Now, would I rather it was up than down? Sure, I mean, it'd be nice, but I don't think, you know, we could fix this by getting more Ukrainian refugees.
Amen.
And so, which might be a good strategy. And I'm not saying it's not anything, but in terms of, we all know and have known for really over a decade, that we are in a stagnant area relative
We've
to
known
just
it since
about
1950.
Well, no, I understand that, but I'm saying we are 21st now. We were 20th. We will be 25th in size probably at the current pace in 5 or 6 years. We have to focus on quality of life, not worry about the numbers.
I don't think it's one of those, turn out the lights, it's over bad. It's certainly nothing to crow about that it's going down. The story that is going to appear in the Post-Dispatch tomorrow by Jacob Barker, one of our reporters, talks about this loss of population, and some of it can be explained just by the outward migration, which has been going on forever. An interesting note that Jacob shared with me was that the other thing that goes with it is we are also in a negative growth, meaning that there's more people dying than being born in St. Louis and St. Louis County. There's only 4 cities in the United States that are in a negative migration and a negative growth through birth-death, and it's Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Detroit, and St. Louis. I mean, that's a real rusty belt kind of
I was just
group
gonna
of
say,
cities. So, I mean, it's not a good sign. Like I said, I don't think it's ready time to throw in the towel. But we are trending wrong.
But I know people in those cities that are pretty happy with themselves. I think a lot of it is an attitude about the quality of life, in my opinion. Because, I mean, I know people in those cities, Pittsburgh, that feel good about themselves. And I think we need to get over our complex about it.
We always talk about the region. Our metropolitan area, the 7 counties as we used to count or whatever when you talk about the metro, all that, right. Overall, I don't think it's gone down, okay? And just kind of relate to it like that. The city is the hub. Wish it was going up, but at the same time, if we're counting ourselves as this region, then, it's kind of like, I don't think Washington, D.C. worries about the fact that they got half as many people that they have because everything going around it is booming. So I kind of feel like the city could be the same.
Well, if things were really booming around here, I'd feel good. But I think it's a warning sign that you guys are ignoring, some of you anyway. I think we got some problems here that need...
I agree with you. But this 8,000 people, I'm not losing sleep.
You know something's wrong when the people from south of the border go up Highway 55, I'm talking about Mexicans, El Salvadorans, and they skip St. Louis and they go straight to Chicago. I mean, even
people have been doing that for decades.
We have not had much of a Latino community, and people come where their cousins are already living. So I don't think that's their judgment on St. Louis.
And also I think another factor that's going to come when 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when you can do a good study of the effects of COVID. I think a lot of people who lived in Clayton or in the city county, you find out you can do your job living anywhere, and the company has allowed you to do that. So you go, well, why not move out in the middle of nowhere? I always love the country, or I'm from Wentzville, or I'm from out in Marshfield, Missouri, and I can still do my job for this St. Louis company. I think that also might be a factor that we still have to look at.
Could be true. So. Let's move on to another topic. Explosive allegations. Alvin Reid by Sheena Greitens, the ex-wife of former Governor Eric Greitens, who's running for the U.S. Senate. And in these allegations, which surfaced, were made public, she alleges that he hit her. He hit their 3-year-old, dragged the 3-year-old by the hair. At one point, she wanted to escape with the kids, and he took away her purse, her cell phone, her car keys, that sort of stuff. Really bad stuff. Do you think that he is toast as a U.S. Senate candidate?
I do. I put it this way. I don't think he can win. He can keep running, but I don't think he can win now. I mean, this is... Look, if he had no history of this, okay, but he has a documented history that he has admitted to. So, something is amiss, and he's done.
I disagree.
He can't win. I'm saying he probably won't suspend his campaign. But he can't win.
I disagree. I completely disagree. First of all, and I mean, I realize he didn't do anything like at least he didn't do anything as bad as lie about his notes or something. But anyway.
Wait till the next time you're on charges and the prosecutors mess up with your case, Ray.
Happens all the time. No, first of all, I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he fundraised it off this. In fact, he already went out, and you shake your head, but he already made this about Mitch McConnell. He said, I'm the first person to criticize Mitch McConnell, and look what his thugs are doing to me. And it's like he is running in a Republican primary. He's a known quantity. all of the people who support him, which is more than support anybody else at the moment in this six-way race, all of them know about the other stuff he did and don't care. And it's just like it was with Trump. They don't care.
But enough of them do care about smacking your wife and abusing your kids.
I do not think.
Do you think the women don't care?
No, I do not.
Care.
Sarah, let's get a female perspective. Ray, let's let Sarah jump in here.
You cannot have allegations that a man did something like this to a child or to a woman without women going away in droves. And the fact that his only defense is claiming that this very credible, very smart person who has no blot in the public eye is crazy. She doesn't seem crazy to people who are on the outside looking in. That hurts.
I couldn't agree with Sarah more, and I think she points out about how it's going to lose women, so which then is going to leave you to these hardcore men voters who are going to defend him. But there is a difference, and sadly, there's too many men out there who can justify hitting a woman. Hitting a 3-year-old in the face and knocking his tooth out and dragging him by the hair, you're toast. I mean, now you're going to have...
Even in Missouri.
And because you're
saying...
Yeah, not to say he's not going to get a single vote. I'm talking about his chances to win the primary.
That's what I'm saying.
He is going to be down to a sick few, because once you get in there and you can come up with all kinds of excuses, and let's put this to the vote.
Now, hang on a second. Let me just throw this out. I don't know if this is accurate or not, but this is what he said on Mark Cox's show this morning on 97.1. He said, if I'm such a bad dad, then why do I have the majority of the kids' free time?
Here's the deal.
What does that mean?
She contests that. She says that he's only seen them like twice in the last 2 months or something absurd like that.
So it's not true.
I think he's making stuff up.
Okay.
The fact that he's on Mark Cox's show should tell you something, and it is that he is in the. And by the way, I hope I'm not coming off as defending him. My point is, in that world, when you're talking about the Trumpiest part of the Trump base, the very extreme, his strategy all along has been to win a 6-way race or a 4 or 5-way race with 30%. Nothing about this changes that. Now, I think it will hurt him in general. It would be good for the Democrats if he's the nominee.
Sarah, I want to ask you about another story, and that is the tragic death of Cora Faith Walker, the former state rep and the public servant in St. Louis County. She died March the 11th at the Lowe's Hotel in downtown St. Louis. Tim Fitch, former police chief for St. Louis County, says that on 3 different occasions he asked for independent inquiries into matters in the county when he was the chief, just because there might be a conflict of interest. So he's calling for an independent investigation into this woman's death, since she and the mayor were such close friends and the mayor oversees the police department. What do you think? Should there be an independent inquiry?
This to me seems kind of ludicrous, because say what you will, the mayor is in charge of the police department. There's nobody alleging that the police department likes the mayor. They're not doing her bidding. They don't support her. There's been a lot of innuendo laid in reporting. Frankly, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch editorial board has gotten some stuff wrong. The city has been asking for corrections on this. You know, they reported at one point there was no 911 call. Other reporters have demonstrated there is this 911 call. They just didn't know how to get this 911 call. And so there's all these facts out there that aren't actually facts. I don't see why we would need the Highway Patrol to take this on. There's nothing that suggests that the way that this is currently proceeding needs a special investigator or a different department.
I agree with that. And I think Dan Isom, who admittedly I'm biased, but Dan Isom, who's the
Public Safety
Director, Commissioner, is a person of, I think, of great integrity. I think Bill McCullen was pointing out the medical examiner is. You know, this is a tragic thing, and we have to wait to see the toxicology report. They said the preliminary one showed no drugs, which it very well may prove to be true. People do have heart attacks, or whatever might have been the case.
Medical issues.
And so I don't think we should prejudge it. I will say I think the city has almost gone out of its way to look guilty by like not complying with FOI requests, you know, for the stuff that didn't make. I don't think they've handled it.
Point of information. Let me ask Joe, because Joe, you covered the press conference by Dan Isom earlier this week, and you reported that it's true that the police did not look into the hotel room that she was in. Right?
That's correct. That's what Public Safety Director Isom said, that no police entered the hotel room where she spent the night.
Did some people find that to be a little unusual?
You'd have to ask some other people.
Yeah, okay,
I hate to do this.
I understand what you're saying, because you're covering the story.
Well, and
I think that's unusual, because, you know, Bob Saget died, and in a hotel room, and they examined the hotel
But
room.
he died in his hotel room.
I know, but wouldn't you check
collapsed
the
in
hotel
the
room?
hallway.
She just came out of
I understand.
Yes.
But see, I don't know the legalese of that, quite frankly. I don't know if I fell out in the lobby of the hotel, maybe they would have to get like a warrant to go into the room that you couldn't do it right then. I don't know.
Okay,
that one I
what's
don't
the
know.
harm in having an independent inquiry?
Well, in this case, first of all, I don't think it's necessary. And second of all, I'm not sure you got to remember something. It's a tragic thing. We all know that. When someone collapses in a hotel and dies, normally the police there's nothing for the police to investigate. It's tragic, it's horrible, but it's not criminal. And there's no reason to assume if somebody collapses in a hallway.
I think if there's a mysterious death, you would have an investigation.
But I don't think
when you say
anybody's saying
mysterious,
this is
people have hearts.
Yeah.
You don't know
I think it's mysterious.
I mean, Christine Byers of KSDK has had pretty much the best reporting on this, and she interviewed the bystander, the Good Samaritan, who tried to help her in the hallway. The Good Samaritan made it clear this was just like any other medical emergency that happens in a hotel hallway.
Oh, but it's very rare that a 37-year-old would die suddenly like that.
That's not
It is true.
Police do not invest. People die younger than that from heart. People do not, and in fact, the statistics show for a number of reasons, more people under 40, I think it's 10% more die now than before. The point is that there's nothing inherent about her passing away that would call for a criminal investigation in a hallway. It just doesn't. I don't understand that.
It wouldn't necessarily be a criminal investigation. Just
well, they don't do.
Wait,
what
are you investigating before you find out
check out what's in the hotel room? What's going on?
If you don't even know cause of death, so how are you going to have a criminal investigation? You don't know
what you do is you just look at the scene.
No, Charlie.
And
a picture of some. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, so what are you looking for?
Anything.
No. What are you looking for?
Well, I don't know. Something untoward.
Okay.
No, why?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So that's how the police, the police know where untoward things are right now. They could go there and find all kind of untoward stuff, but they can't do it because they got to have a warrant. They got to have a right to be there, and maybe they didn't have that right.
And I think other than Tim Fitch not liking Sam Page, and this woman worked for Sam Page, and she was close friends with Sarah Jones.
He so wants to protect her that he was in Dublin, Ireland when they had the memorial.
He was there for his anniversary.
Look, I'll stick.
That's right. So I was. Tim Fitch was in his. Celebrating his 35th anniversary.
I disagree with Fitch, but I don't question his motives on this one.
Joe, I want to ask.
I'm saying.
Okay.
Joe, I want to ask you about.
I do.
Okay, we're moving on to the next topic here on Donnybrook. It's a real Donnybrook tonight. Joe, Sarah London is the new CEO of Centene. Let's take a look at what's going on here. She's been in town since 2020. She's moving the firm from healthcare to technology that does healthcare. She's in a state where this week the Republican leaders again are seeking to withdraw Medicaid expansion, okay? And her business is Medicaid expansion. She's got a second big headquarters in Charlotte. That's $1 billion headquarters that she's currently building. She's not from around here. As I said, Michael Nydorf often saw Centene as an extension of his ego. He is retiring. My question for you is, how long will Centene have its HQ in downtown Clayton?
I feel like we need to put an over-under on here for the betting line, like 3.5 years or whatever. I would hazard to say, yes, they will or they won't, but the odds went up exponentially that the fact that the new CEO does not have the connection to St. Louis, and that the past CEO, who did indeed, was very critical of the area. So it wasn't as if the groundwork wasn't laid that I and a whole bunch of my employees are not happy about this, and that we're having trouble getting people because of public safety, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the number, if we said that before, we're taking we would discuss a line on whether or not Centene will leave, we probably have moved to the point of discussing what the over and under line is on how many years it'll be before Centene leaves.
I don't think this changed it. First of all, having this woman who I'm sure is quite qualified to be the new CEO, in the context you put it, is a symptom, not the problem. Okay, it's not, in other words, one person isn't going to make the decision for Centene where they're going to relocate. And if the fact that they hired somebody who fits the description you did probably indicates that the company has been disposed, as Joe said, to leave. I will say this about Michael Neidorff, who is a very charitable, terrific, philanthropic guy. No question about that. But I've always felt his criticisms of St. Louis were sort of a fig leaf for why he's moving and a rationalization rather than the cause.
But if I'm a shareholder, I'm going to go, why did Centene just build this giant new expansion just to pull out? That just seems nuts.
I mean,
I don't think they necessarily
I hear you.
completely.
I also, I'm hesitant to say, like, well, she's not from here or he's not from here, because those of us who worked at different papers and all that, we were the person that wasn't from there, but we didn't necessarily have ulterior motives, okay? That being said, I'm with Joe. I'd kind of be like,
okay,
yeah.
Let me ask you this, Alvin Reid. Alvin, you've been a passenger on the very successful, popular Red Bird Express.
Many years ago.
It's a bus that goes from St. Clair Square to Busch Stadium. They get thousands of people every day, every game. And they announced this week, Metro did, that they're shutting it down. Now, that's a popular form of transportation. They're shutting that down. Meanwhile, at the same time, they're resurrecting the Loop Trolley, which was clearly unpopular. Is something wrong with this picture?
Something is wrong with this picture, and maybe they were looking for the Cardinals to maybe put a little, skin in the game or something like that. But when you see those buses, and they're pretty much packed, and it says Red Bird Express on it, and there are many of us, I'm 61 years old, said, like, I used to catch it at Christmas Mall and go to the games, And now I think the only one is from St. Clair, and I said, like, you should not take that away from those people, because, once again, it's young people, and it's people that don't have a lot of money. And maybe it's convenience or whatever for some, but, I mean, it's really hurting people that all they want to do is just go to the ball game.
But we don't even have a functioning bus service for people who need to get to work. How can we keep investing in that when we don't have buses that can run within an hour or two? I mean, it's a disaster right now.
Well, in the words
we have $51 million in the bank from the 2017 sales tax for the north-south extension, and it's just sitting there. People want bus service, but we're planning on some sort of big north-south Metrolink light rail, which probably will never happen.
Well, it's an overrated movie, but Sarah, as they said, James Earl Jones, it's baseball.
Okay, that's all we have for this segment. Ray, you and I are going to be right back in a moment. I'll tell the folks why. But first, let's go to the old mailbag. The panelists made inaccurate comments alleging intolerance and derisive characterization of loft dwellers in their defense of serial violator New Life Evangelistic Center. Our neighborhood families and seniors have a decades-long history of harmonious coexistence with responsibly operated shelters, low-income housing, our public library, and a public school near our average price homes. That from Pete in downtown West. You can write us care of Donnybrook, 9PBS, 3655 Olive, 63108. Don't forget those emails, donnybrook@9pbs.org, and those tweets, hashtag DonnybrookSTL. Really follow us anywhere you get your podcasts, including those places right there. Thank you so much to Sarah Fenske and Joe Holleman for sitting in. We appreciate that. Stay tuned on Next Up, Greg Myrie from Parkway Central, and now the national security correspondent for National Public Radio. We'll talk about Ukraine. Ray and I will join him. That's next. Don't go away.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.